flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh my. Saturday morning. Seems like it's going to be another nice one. I'll be working all day for the most part. Oh, actually, no, not all day. Let me tell y'all what this proud dad gets to do today. I get to go watch my son receive the Regional Science Project Award. I don't know what you call it, I guess. It's not like first place, second place, third place. There's just a winner for each grade, and he's the winner for his grade. So I get to go watch him get a little award for that today. So that's very cool. Otherwise, I will still be working all day, unfortunately. I got that app still that I'm working on, the inspection app, and I need to get the end product out to my client because it's been quite a few days now, and I keep telling them I'm almost got it done, I've almost got it done. And of course, they don't know that I'm building software with it, so they essentially think that I'm just taking forever to do an inspection and get a report together. But I did tell her yesterday, I told her that I'm actually building some of the software that I'm using. I sent it to her work phone, which I think, unless you're on call, doesn't go home with you, so I don't think she's seen that message yet. But today will be the day. This morning, actually, before I even go to my son's science fair award ceremony, this morning I'll get to actually go send that to the property manager, I hope. And if not, then it'll be after the ceremony. It'll take however long it takes, I guess. It'll take however long it takes. But the good news is the app is basically done, which means the next time she wants me to do one of these, she can just send me the address. I can head over there same day or next day, do the inspection, come back home, pull it up on the computer, maybe do a tiny little bit of editing, add some materials pricing, and just have her that inspection. I mean, hypothetically, same day every time. I think that would be awesome. She would almost certainly continue sending them frequently if she was getting same day results. High quality same day results. Mark Albert, good morning, sir. Good to see you. Happy Saturday to you. Got a webinar later today. I know Mark Albert doesn't need it, but anybody else watching this after the fact, I do have a webinar today at 3 p.m. Well, 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. It's my jobber workflow webinar. You can sign up for it on the website, bulletproofhandyman.com. Take you through and show you how I create new jobs in Jobber, how I schedule them, get them assigned out, how we do the documentation and the invoicing, and then I'll show you how to write a quote too. So that would make today the 7th then, yeah. I usually don't know what day of the week it is or what the date is. What we got here? Z4. It's morning. It's gonna be pretty soon. There's a horizon starting to get a little bit of light to it over there. It's not quite morning just yet. Little bit of a cold snap over here right now. Not super cold or anything, but I was all sad about winter ending and summer coming up on us. And I got this nice little reward of just a tiny cold snap, probably the last one of the year. I may not ever see another, well, not ever, I guess the end of the year it'll be back, but Gonna be a while before I see a morning cold enough to put a flannel on again. And I'm actually a huge fan of the cold. As long as I'm here and don't have too many questions to answer yet, I'll dive into our upcoming events. April 16th through 19th in Texas, just northeast of Dallas, Bonham State Park. We'll be doing what did I name it? Texas Bunkhouse Retreat. Up to 60 people that I'll be sleeping there. It's free. You can just sign up and show up. 3 nights, 4 days, big handyman. Just think of it as a handyman convention. 3 nights and 4 days. Meals and lodging provided. Nobody's gonna try to sell you anything while you're there, but I'm gonna try to sell you something right now before we get there, which is that it was paid for by Ergo Next Insurance. So if you want to thank them for putting that event on for us, well, I'm putting it on for you, but they're paying for it. So if you want to thank them for the opportunity to go have a little handyman convention that you don't have to pay anything for, click the link in my description and go get a quote. Let them know that you appreciate them supporting our Bulletproof handyman community. And that'll motivate them to do more of these in the future. Mark said, did you get your cowboy hat back? Yeah, see, there she is. Unfortunately, I had no choice but to go have lunch with Chris yesterday to get it back. As much as I can't stand him, I went and had lunch with him so he could give it back to me. I had some wings, some wangs. And then the next event after that, I do have secured. That's going to be in June. I don't have precise dates for June yet. Still looking for venues, and then the venue availability will partially direct, the specific weekend that it ends up being. But we're doing another one of those in June, and that one is sponsored by Quo, Q-U-O. Quo does VoIP app-based phone, business phone. So it lives on your phone. You've already got a cell phone. Or you can, make it a company expense, make it a deduction, and buy a brand new phone for your company phone. That's also your phone, your personal phone, and has your app-based business phone on it. But the thing that sets them apart is they help you get that federal regulatory approval to be able to text everybody. Because a lot of people don't know, if you get a business line, you can't just go texting all of your clients on the business line. There's a bunch of federal spam regulations in the way. So Quo makes it easy to just get that knocked out right off the bat. Ooh, there goes an owl. Big, beautiful one. We got a bunch of owls around here. Nice. Yep, that's a great horned owl. I wonder if y'all see. Will y'all be able to see it? Yeah, you will. Here he is. Sorry, the tip of my hat's in the way. I know you can't see him well, it's all grainy, but that's him sitting right there. So, yeah, Quo. Oh, where's your partner at? We've got this mating pair over here, and the partner is over this direction somewhere. I can hear, or him, I don't know which one's the boy or the girl. Same thing with Quo though. They've paid for us to have a weekend. It's not cheap, so again, you can thank them which encourages them to host more of these in the future, so that even if you're not planning on attending one right at this moment, there will likely be one for you to attend at some point for free, if we continue showing the sponsors how much we appreciate them for putting these on, or like I said, for paying for it. I put it on, I host it. I'm the one cooking all the food and stuff, but they're the ones paying for it, and I ain't got the money to pay for it. So you can thank them by just clicking on the link and checking them out. I've said it a million times, I don't want y'all buying anything that you haven't decided independently after your research is the right product or service for you. But I do ask you to consider them. That's all I ask. I don't know if y'all can hear the owls, but they're just hooting back and forth across a few hundred yards to each other. If we're lucky, someday all of this will collapse and we'll be left with nothing but nature. I know how horrible that sounds. I still dream of it. You know, let's work on something together right now. Just a way to word something. My buddy John, I was explaining to him some stuff. He was trying to just get a good grasp on my concept of getting a ranch, turning it into a homestead and whatnot. And I realized in the conversation, he was viewing it as an escape hatch. He was viewing it as me trying to, almost as if the order of events was, first, you're scared of collapse. Then you firmly believe that it's coming. And then, because you're scared that it is coming, you go try to find some way to escape something that you can't really ever truly escape. Which is true in some ways. You know, if everything collapses and we have true total chaos, your little ranch isn't going to necessarily protect you from that. You know, maybe a lot of the violence and chaos will be a little further from you in the beginning, but it'll find its way to you. And I realized, he doesn't understand what this is actually about then. So the way I describe it is this. Well, first of all, yes, there's probably a collapse coming. And yes, I do want to keep my family safe from it, but I would also be happy for no collapse to come. And I think that's the key, is this ranch, homestead, whatever you want to call it, this idea that I have of getting my family onto this land away from everything. I want you to understand that it's not about protection from some hypothetical future. It's about protection from the actual reality of today. I actually want to protect my family from the modern day instantiation of civilization. And John's a Christian, so I knew he'd understand this, and I told him, you know, to me, modern day society, even the most mundane aspects of it, to me, feel like Sodom and Gomorrah. And I don't mean anything in particular about which particular activities are the bad ones. What I mean is, you know, Sodom and Gomorrah was a bunch of people just chasing pleasure. They weren't really thinking hard. They weren't philosophers. They weren't building a future. They weren't sacrificing, you know, today's happiness for a better tomorrow for their children. Sodom and Gomorrah, regardless of the specific, you know, which acts were immoral and which acts weren't, they were focused on acute, in the moment pleasure. And they were focused on what feels good instead of what is good. And that's how I feel about today's society. And I don't want my children growing up in Sodom and Gomorrah. If there's another place I can take them, you know, where there are philosophers and there are people thinking about the future, and there is an idea of sacrificing something, some comfort today for, you know, some benefit of security or health tomorrow. That's how I view things. And then I take it a step further, and I want my kids to experience what it means to be a human. And that's a hard thing to define what it means too. So I came up with this analogy on the spot with John. Y'all tell me what you think of it. But I feel like there's a thing it means to be human. There's a way that it feels to be living a truly human life that most of us don't understand. And I compare it to a dog, because a dog, you know, first of all, let's forget about the fact that a dog isn't even a wolf anymore. It's not whatever it came from. So it's already lost that. But even a dog being a dog, forget about the wolf aspect, that it doesn't know what that feels like anymore. A dog doesn't really know even what it should feel like to be a dog anymore half the time. But imagine taking your dog, you know, this dog that loves laying on its owner's chest and bonding and smelling your pheromones when he's made you happy, and hearing the tone in your voice when you tell him good boy, and wagging his tail, and the bond that he forms with you, and maybe how he feels going out in the backyard, laying down in the sun, like on a spring morning when it's still a bit chilly, but now the sun's warming them up. And the way a dog feels when, you know, they have a litter of puppies and that instinct kicks in and they just know how to be a mom to their puppies. Think of all these ways that for a dog, there's something that it feels like to be a dog. And now take this dog and just plop them down. Maybe their whole world now is inside these block walls, 12 feet high, and they can't leave. And it's a carnival. The whole thing is like a carnival fun house. There's mirrors everywhere. The floor, there's not even dirt, you know, to be on. If the dog wants to use the bathroom, it has a catheter, you know, in it, and some sort of tube that has to get plugged in, and it has to run over to a special stall and plug a tube in. And it doesn't even understand what peeing is. It's never peed before. It's never met a human or had an owner to bond with. The food comes in pill form. Just take everything you can take away from a dog, so that it not only does it not know what it means to be a wolf, but it doesn't even understand what it means to be a dog anymore. And it's just this unnatural environment, and the dog doesn't even know what it's missing because it never had it. It doesn't know that it could feel a certain way, that there could be circuits in its brain that would make it feel comfort or pleasure or safety or security or contentedness. None of that. It doesn't even know those circuits exist because it's never had the opportunity to even exist in its natural environment where those come to the surface. And that's what I think is going on with people today. That's what I think the human condition has become, is this unnatural, artificial, like, it's not about preventing suffering. It's about providing just the realness of what it feels like and smells like and just is to be human. And I want to give that to my kids, and they benefit from that whether society collapses or not. It makes no difference to me. I view it as me leaving Sodom and Gomorrah to go to a better place. And, you know, if Sodom and Gomorrah continues on forever, we're still in a better place where I want my kids to be. But the great news is, if Sodom and Gomorrah collapse, I'm not there for the collapse anymore. And I don't have to go down and watch my family suffer through a collapse created by a society who doesn't care anymore. A society who just lets everything go and says, you know what? I'm not really worried about it. I want some whipped cream on that latte. I want to drive my new car as fast as I can drive it. I want a bigger house. I want a bigger everything. I want the newest phone. My kids are in my way. I'm annoyed because I can't keep my head buried in my phone because they keep coming and bothering me. My food already just shows up at the front door. If I just basically want it, that's all I have to do is really just feel the urge. And the food damn near just shows up at the door. I barely have to press 5 buttons on my phone to even make that happen. And it's still not enough. And I'm annoyed. I want more. That's the modern condition. That's not me. I'm not saying that's how I feel. I'm saying that's how all of this feels to me most of the time. You know, I see all of you guys trying, but outside of you guys, and a rare example here or there, I don't see most people trying. I don't see most people appreciating their life. I don't even most religious people, I still see kind of stuck in the same rut, just while believing in a particular set of beliefs, while they're still behaving exactly the same way that everyone else is behaving. So, I don't know if that visual works for y'all, of the dog that not only does it not know what it's like to be a wolf anymore, but it doesn't even know what it's like to be a dog anymore. That visual is where I'm at. I'm not trying to save me or my family from some particular collapse. I'm trying to save them from what I think is already the reality of the situation on the ground right now, no matter where you go in America. Except maybe Iowa. Emily goes to Iowa to visit her friend, and apparently it's very family friendly up there. But I'll bet you even in Iowa though, I'll bet you go to the family friendly thing and you probably still see a whole lot of the same in the moment pleasure chasing activity. Mark said, yes, I love it. Beautiful scenery. I keep feeding at least one hummingbird. I really love our feathered friends. We've got a couple hummingbirds too. We've also got a bird buddy, which is a little bird feeder that has a camera in it and a sensor. So it takes pictures of our birds, and it's AI connected and it's internet connected. So you got an app on your phone, and you get a new kind of bird in your yard. It'll even send you a little alert and say, oh, look, there's a something in your front yard. And I believe it's also harnessed for, I don't want to use the general term scientists, I guess scientists though, biologists. Pretty sure they harness that network because it uses AI to identify the birds, and it counts them so that scientists can actually sort of see live, population movements over time. Timothy said off grid. Yes, sir. Bullseye, good morning, howdy. And Bullseye said, welcome to the Midwest. We're all friendly. Yeah, Emily goes to Iowa twice a year, I guess. I mean, it's not on a specific time scale, but she goes to Iowa a lot. And when she's there, and as the stuff she sends me, if the city is having an event, if you're in Tucson and there's a big event going on downtown, the odds that it's built for family is really low. That doesn't mean that it isn't, I'm not saying that they don't include family aspects in a lot of their events, but if there's a special event going on in Tucson, it's almost certainly built for adults, or it's built for the LGBTQ community or something, but it's not built for the kids. Very rare that it's that. We have, what is it called? Meet Tucson, I think. And that one is all about celebrating diversity. So, it's like the Puerto Ricans have an area, and the Chinese have an area, and the Indians have an area, and the Ecuadorians have an area, and everybody's got their area. And you go celebrate their culture. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's not a thing to complain about. That's good food, good music, good times. Yes, it is family friendly, but no, it wasn't designed for family. It's not optimized and built from the beginning with the idea that Tucson is a city full of moms and dads with kids, and we want to create safe and amazing events for them. Or it's the Tour de Tucson, shut down half the city's roads for Tour de Tucson, so a bunch of adults on their bicycles can screw up the traffic and race all around the city. Again, nothing wrong with that one particular little individual thing, But again, that one particular individual thing is not built around family. Or you've even got like the 4th Avenue Street Fair, which feels like it could be built for family, except I've been there, I've done that, also as a vendor with a food truck there. And what I can tell you is it's not built for family, it's built for money. It's built for the deep-seated pleasure of buying things on a whim that you didn't even know you were looking for to buy until the moment you walked into the next booth and paid too much money for it. And by the way, if you want a cup of coffee, it's gonna be $13. And you know, if you want to get your kids a funnel cake, that's gonna be $19. It's not built for family. We haven't built anything really around here for family. And you just go event after event, and it's like the city is, the very few exceptions are sometimes, even though of course the goal is always money, sometimes they do have like the dinosaur adventure thing will come to the Coliseum where they've got like life-sized animatronic dinosaurs, and that's for the kids. And sometimes those are actually somewhat affordable. But again, that's the exception to the rule, which kind of is the whole point, is if it's really truly family oriented here in Tucson, or in most cities that I go to, you know, it's not like Tucson's unique in this matter. It's not the Sodom of the United States. But no matter what it is, it's just rarely built for families. But in Iowa, you know, from what Emily tells me and sends me, there does seem to be, Des Moines specifically, which I guess is probably the only real city there. Des Moines is really built for families. At least on the surface, it seems like it must be. Lots of events that are centered around kids are very affordable, or even free entry, you know, a reasonable cost for the parents and free entry for the kids, and lots of things for the kids to do. And you can get them a snow cone for $2.50 or whatever instead of $16. So, but still, I want a damn ranch. I want to raise my family somewhere that they're gonna just experience the humanness of being human. How about that sunrise right there? So yeah, my idea is just get my family on a path that's the right path, and just let society do what it wants. Not really going to concern myself with what happens to Sodom and Gomorrah. I'm just going to get the hell out of there. Oof, video games. I know I'll turn a lot of y'all off with this because I'm sure a lot of y'all love video games. And I guess there's, you know, if you're showing up to work and paying your bills and spending time with your kids, if you're taking care of all your responsibilities in life, and video games are the last priority, but they're still on the list and you still play them sometimes, I don't guess there's anything wrong with that. But never been a fan of them, except for the 8th grade. I was in the 8th grade when the very first Nintendo came out, like the OG Nintendo, with Super Mario Brothers. And I got one. And then I subsequently spent an entire summer playing a video game. Every summer before that. One summer before that, me and my best friend Randy dug a hole. We spent a whole summer as kids, these little 7th grade, 6th grade, 5th grade, whatever grade it was, spent a whole summer digging a hole. Summer after the 4th grade, I actually had a job in a junkyard, and I actually worked like a man all day, every day, all summer long. And I made for a fourth grader, a significant amount of money and learn to work hard. And other summers, you know, me and Randy, one summer I can remember we had a lemonade stand that we built with hammers and nails and our dad's saws and stuff. And it was a lemonade stand with skids, so we could tie one bicycle to each skid. Like, think of skis, right? Skis that it rides on. And we could tie one bicycle to each one and actually haul it around the neighborhood and set it up in different places. We didn't make much money, but we also mowed lawns and stuff, so we always had some money. None of it was given to us for free, that's for sure. But one of our things was to walk to this convenience store that was honestly, it must have been 6 miles away. I mean, it's probably a 12-hour, or not a 12-hour, but a 12-mile walk. So like twice what I'm doing this morning. And just to get a Dr. Pepper, we could walk all the way there. You know, we'd burn the Dr. Pepper off by the time we walked all the way back. But all of a sudden I got a Nintendo, and this whole summer just disappeared. I got a Nintendo, summer started, I sat down on my bed, started playing the Nintendo, and it was like the next day school was starting again. And I realized every summer before then I had all these adventures, things I'd done wrong, gotten in trouble for. Usually each one came with some injuries that I had to go to the urgent care for. I had these amazing summers, and then a Nintendo showed up, and I just sat on my fucking bed for a summer and did nothing. And I just was shocked with myself, and I put it down. And I mean, yes, I did pick it up here and there to play with my mom or my sister just because they wanted to. But I let go of video games that year. I really just, if you handed me a video game controller today, I don't know what to do with it. And you'd think that it's simple enough that you could just be like, oh yeah, no, just hit I don't even know. Just hit XXO, you know, and that's how you can jump really high. I'm not gonna remember that. My hands aren't gonna learn that. Nor do I want to remember. I don't want any space in my brain taken up with any of that knowledge. I don't want any little modules wired that help me. You know, the one thing I play now, and my son knows this, well, two things. My son Silas knows that if he wants me to play video games with him, he's got two options. Mario Kart, which basically requires me to hold one button down. I have to move a little joystick with my left thumb, and then I have to hit some other button with my left index finger to throw turtle shells and stuff at people. And that's all I've got to remember. And I barely do that, but he knows that he's got two options. I can whoop his fucking ass in the original Super Mario Brothers day in and day out and beat that game beginning to end, because somehow, even it's been since the 8th grade, I can still play that damn game with my eyes closed, and I can make it to the end and win. And then it starts you over at the beginning again, but with, you know, a higher difficulty level. And I can do that. That's one choice he has. Or Super Mario, or Mario Kart. Those are the two options. But what makes me sad is, you know, and I'm not sad that he plays video games. I'm really not. It's okay with me. I think he's responsible about it. We limit him to 45 minutes a day. And it's only after his chores are done. So literally he gets home from school, or if it's a Saturday or whatever, he's got to do all his chores. He's got to make sure all his homework is done. His room's got to be completely clean, like actually clean, and not fake clean. And if he's taking care of all of his responsibilities like a man, then he's allowed 45 minutes. And usually that's Minecraft. And he's usually building different farms and ranches and houses and stuff for me and his mom and his brothers and him. So that's not too bad. But what I hate is my twins are 4.5. Hell, they're going to be 5 in June. And they get excited. They don't play video games, but so they can feel like they're participating. When Silas plays video games, they get a controller. It's an old fake, it's not a fake, it's a real controller, I guess. But they're like old controllers to some other gaming system, you know, that we don't have or whatever. And just like the sheer joy and excitement on their faces when they get a controller and they think they're controlling something on the screen. I understand it. I've been there, and I'm happy that they're happy, but I just get this sinking feeling in my gut because I know video games are addictive. The same way that I know coffee and cigarettes are addictive, and the same way I know meth and heroin are addictive, and gambling is addictive. And some people can get addicted to sex. There's so many things, addiction is a very real thing. And I know it is because I smoked my whole life. And I mean my whole damn life. I was smoking full time. I'm 45. I was smoking full time, like a pack a day. Or at least very, very, very close to a pack a day. Like maybe 18 cigarettes a day instead of 20. And I'm 45, and I've smoked that much since I was younger than 15. Think of that, younger than 15. I actually started in the 6th grade, and I was pretty much full-time by the 8th grade. And then for sure, high school and on was a pack a day. And I think high school started for me, I think that was, 14? So, I watch them just light up when they get those controllers in their hands. And it kind of turns my gut. I'm happy for them. I get a happy feeling, but at the same time, my gut turns and I just go, please, please, God, don't get my kids addicted to video games. Please don't let that ever be a thing that they just don't know how to be happy without, because of all the things in life that you could or couldn't consider to be important, video games are not on the list of things that are important. And the only thing I can imagine worse than having them on the list anywhere at all is having them be anywhere up near the top of the list. And I know too many grown men with families who will spend an entire weekend playing a video game. And I'm not trying to tell y'all what's right or wrong, I'm just saying how I feel about things. So if you're a grown man who is addicted to video games, I'm not saying you are, you're not. I'm just saying maybe ask yourself if you are or if you're not. And whatever that answer is, see if you feel like doing something about it. Travis Osborne, that's my Uncle Travis. Good to see you in here, sir. We're gonna, I wanna say, Travis, I think the Friday that my mom's here is when we're gonna see if you and Sue can make it over, but I'll text you about that separately pretty soon, and we'll make sure we just have it on the books. But I did ask Emily about it, and I think she said Friday would be the best day for us, because Saturday is the Ren Fair. Bullseye, I said hi, I believe. Christopher, good to see you, Christopher. Just in here ranting about video games and off-grid, what I want to do with my ranch, and why it needs to exist. Back to business, I suppose. I do got to get home and get that app finally working. Something broke with Replit last night. Hopefully it's done this morning, but Replit hit some kind of really weird, I kept getting these internal server errors. Not that I have a clue what that means. I ain't trying to sound smart. I don't even know what I know what internal means. I know what a server is, and I know what an error is, but it doesn't mean I know what an internal server error means. But it kind of stopped building correctly for a minute, and it kind of just kept spinning its wheels. I was really going to have it all wrapped up last night, so this morning I've got to go see if that's back to working again. Because I got to get that inspection out to that property man. It's not even about getting the app itself done for any like app purposes. It's because I need to actually use it. I need to actually get this inspection out to my property manager. They have a tenant move out that needs to be reconciled, and it needs to be reconciled now. But I think they're going to be happy with the product. What's funny is I think they're going to ask me for access to my app, and I can't give it to them because there's really no way to give them the app without them in the long run figuring out who I am and what I actually do. They think I'm a handyman, who just works on some houses here in Tucson. They don't know that I'm building an army of handymen around the country to help me take over the world someday. Travis said, give the kids camera and take them outside. I found out a long time ago, Travis, I think you're right. Kids with a camera, kids will take the best pictures. I gave a nice Canon, like one of my really nice SLRs, to a group of kids in Mississippi once at Ray Duke, my dad Ray Duke, at his property during a big old family event. A lot of adults took a lot of pictures at that event, but man, the pictures the kids took. Because I'll tell you what, nothing will make an adult smile like a little 7-year-old, like a cute little 7-year-old niece or nephew, you know, with just a big old grin on their face, pointing a camera up at you, telling you to say cheese, you know, just having a good time playing with all of their cousins and stuff. They'll take some very, very nice pictures. Christopher Collins said, I feel like the video games wasted parts of my own life. My parents practically raised me in front of my television. I don't want the same thing for my children. Exactly. And too many of my friends did the same thing. I mean, we were early enough, luckily, that I think, well, when I say my generation, I guess I mean my grade, like literally my peers that I grew up with. Because Nintendo didn't even happen until the 8th grade, I think we had already been trained, I guess, to really enjoy the outdoors and to want and crave the outdoors. That's just what we all did, because as anybody in my generation or before knows, you weren't allowed inside. You just weren't, period. And that was me too. If you need to pee, you can pee outside. If you need to poop, you can come inside and poop and get the hell out of the house as soon as you're done. If you need a drink, you can drink out of the water hose, but you're outside from the moment the sun comes up to the moment the sun goes down. You're not allowed in that house during the summer. So we already were conditioned for that. That's what we wanted already. So I think a lot of us escaped the video game addictions partly because of that, but you didn't need to be very far behind me, you know, 4 or 5 years younger than me. And it feels like, I'm not going to say half of them. I'm not going to try to put a number to it, I guess, but a truly significant number of them, by the time they reached high school, had zero interest in anything that didn't take place on a screen. And you go a few years after that, and for those guys, I mean, it's just full-on addiction, straight into adulthood. You know, they turn 31 years old, and they're getting in big screaming and fighting matches with their wife because their wife thinks that maybe they should do something other than play video games all day. And they're getting divorced. Or if they have a happy marriage, it's because the wife embraced the video games and, you know, built them an entire gaming room so that they can go in there and shut the door behind them and ignore reality and game all day. I've seen too much of it. Edward Pitkin. Good morning, sir. What did you have going on today? I feel like you were just telling me something you were about to be doing that was news. Could be wrong. There's the casino over there. Got a tattoo convention going on this weekend. Emily will actually not be there. She will be doing tattoo related stuff while her what do you call the person over the apprentice? It's not a master. I mean, yeah, I guess you could be like a master electrician and a master plumber, but anyways, her mentor is in town, kind of in town for that convention, but neither of them is actually really going. They may pop in sometime briefly, but that's about it. Yeah, journeyman, that's also a level. I don't think that's the name of the person who trains an apprentice, though. There's apprentice, journeyman, and master. But I want to say maybe mentor is the name, like the title of the person who's training like that. got a random truck just parked in the road. I assume the guy's sleeping, which is okay. There's even campsites right over there, but for some reason this guy figures just park in the middle of the road, turn the truck off, and don't pull off the road for sure. Do it in the dirt road. My boys are with Greta and Papa right now, all three of them. Oh, by the way, Travis, if you're still in here, Silas is receiving an award today for winning regionals with a science project. So he won his school for the 4th grade. He was the 4th grade winner for the science projects this year at his school. And then those projects, you know, went up the line, and now he's getting an award today for being the regional science project winner for the 4th grade. So that's cool. I get to go watch my boy receive a science project award. And I'm a nerd. I love science, so to see him get an award for something that I love is really cool. He's a good kid. We did the project was, and this was not a scenario of dad doing the project for him. He did the project. I just helped him brainstorm ideas and figure out how to put it together. But the project was figuring out if magnets have more or less magnetism. Are they stronger or weaker if they're super hot or super cold? So we bought a bunch of steel BBs because figured that's a pretty easy way to be able to measure the weight of how much it can pick up instead of having like bars or whatever. We could have used a scale probably too, you know, seeing how much it could pull on a scale. But we used BBs and we froze, you know, we got the same size and power magnets and tested them at room temperature. And then we froze them and picked up BBs with our very, very, very cold frozen magnets. And then we boiled water and put them in boiling water and took them out when they were just barely able to be handled. And sure enough, they were stronger when they were cold and they were weaker when they were hot, which is what I expected. But you know what? That's kind of the point of science, is science isn't about using common sense and deciding what must be true and then proceeding as if it is without knowing if it is. Science is about thinking and questioning what's already, what common sense already tells you should be true, or what just, you know, your culture and your upbringing tells you should be true. Science is about going and actually seeing if you can prove that, seeing if you can collect actual data, and then just know. You know, if you want to know, do plants like and need and thrive when they receive water? We all know the answer, right? But you don't really know the answer until you get a few plants and you give some plants water and you give some plants less water and you give some plants less water and you give some plants no, and maybe give some plants more water and more water until you've just got a plant inside a bucket of water. And then if you want to know how a plant feels about water, well, you can look at the data and you can look and see how the plants are actually doing based on the water. And you can say, turns out they hate being dry and they hate being drowned, but yeah, they do like water, and the sweet spot is 15% moisture in the soil or whatever for this particular plant with this particular amount of sunlight. So it's cool that he's understanding that. He's understanding that science is not a book of facts to memorize. It's a way of figuring out what's true without needing to rely on other people or your own assumptions to tell you what's true, so that you can actually be correct instead of walking around confident that you are correct with no good reason to actually believe what you believe. Jope said, I'm really planning on starting a handyman business here in Southern California. You're a big help. That's awesome, man. You'll do well in Southern California. A lot of people complain that California doesn't let you do much, and it's true. You know, they're stricter than here. you're gonna have to watch out for stings and stuff. But the truth is, people in California, number one, like in a general sense, especially Southern California, they don't really know how to do a lot for themselves. They don't really want to know, honestly. It's not like they're stupid. They just, if you can make decent enough money, which, you know, California is a wealthy place with a high income level, high rent and high everything else too, but it's full of a lot of people who actually do have money, who actually do want to hire a handyman to do things for them. And they'll pay you for it. And, you know, when your limit was $500, that was rough. You know, it's hard to do a lot of things, especially in California, for $500, including materials. But your limit's $1,000 now, and you can get a lot done for $1,000. So you'll be in a good spot. Edward said, nope, nothing special going on today. Right on. Christopher said, congratulations, Silas. And Future, what is that? You know I'm getting old when I have to keep doing this to my phone to read your comments. Futurucci said hi. Hello. 3 miles back to the house now. And then I got to sit down on that computer and just build. I'll get to the end of this someday soon. I'll find that place where I don't have to be working all the time. I can't remember what it was like to have a regular job to where my weekends just belonged to me, or my evenings for that matter. But you know, that's also partly because last time I had a job, as much as it might sound like, oh, you get so much more freedom though, because when you have a job, you go home, you get to just relax. Well, not if you don't have any fucking money in the bank. And not if every time you're home, you're just thinking to yourself, I should have gone to work today to make the money that we need to pay the mortgage, because we do have to pay the mortgage, and instead I'm home. And it's not all that much better if while you have that job, you're working the graveyard shift, 6:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. So during the few days a week that you are physically in your family's presence, you're barely awake. It's the equivalent of if a normal person with a day job, and all of a sudden the only time you get to see your family is in the middle of the night when you would normally be sleeping. So, you know, having a 9 to 5 was not actually all that free. My God, this person's kind of, well, I can't blame him. This car on the dirt road's kind of hauling ass, but then again, so do I suppose. I kind of like driving fast on dirt roads. They'll probably pave this thing someday. That'll make me sad. As of right now, my neighborhood. What the fuck is this guy doing? As of right now, my neighborhood is not really, you don't go through my neighborhood to get anywhere. It's kind of one way in and one way out. But if they ever pave this road, it'll become something that people are driving through all the time. Can y'all tell I want a ranch? Can y'all tell I just really want to get away from most of this? I don't want to even be thinking about, you know, whether or not there's too many cars driving by the front of my house 12 feet from my kids out in the front yard. I'd rather there just not be a damn road anywhere near my house other than my driveway. Tim said, I grew up Amish, and thank God I never owned a video game. That's cool, Tim. I did not know that, sir. I'm a huge fan of the Amish. And I like to think I don't romanticize them. I'm sure I do to some extent, but, you know, I'm aware that it's not just a bunch of nature worshiping and stuff. There's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of expectations. There's a lot of, in any society, by the way, there's going to be a lot of what people would call oppression. If we define oppression as just simply everyone around you sort of like trying to make you conform to whatever it is they want you to conform to. And I'm sure in the Amish world, there's plenty of things that feel like that. There's probably plenty of dark things that we don't all know about. But at the same time, all their kids don't have autism, you know, so there's that. But that's cool, Tim. I didn't know that about you. That makes me even more interested in you. By the way, Tim, where are you at? I mean, I see you all the time. A lot of my guys, I kind of know what part of the country they're in and what they're doing. You always show up and participate, but I don't hear a whole lot about your business or your end of the country. If you're married and have kids, not that you have to share that publicly if that's not something you want to share. Just curious. Mike Murphy, good morning to you. Here's a little bit of that sunrise for y'all. Arizona does have some beautiful ones. I love that we're 3 miles in. Well, I guess about 4 now. Yeah, we're a mile from the casino at this point, so 4 miles in, and the sun isn't even quite up yet. It's right behind that hill, but if you look at the mountains over here, it still isn't quite perfectly level with the horizon. We've already got 4 miles logged. Mike said, what's the subject today that we're discussing about? Oh, I started off the hike talking about some of the upcoming handyman events like the Texas bunkhouse retreat, April 16th through 19th, northeast of Dallas, that you can sign up for at bulletproofhandyman.com, and it's free to attend. And then I went on a rant, quite a long rant actually, about my ranch, describing that there's some confusion amongst even one of my best friends about what the purpose of that ranch is. He thought the purpose was escape. I tried to explain that it's not so much escape from a society on the verge of collapse as it is just feeling like society is very much equivalent to the idea of what Sodom and Gomorrah was. And I'm just simply choosing to leave Sodom and Gomorrah and go somewhere else that feels more human, you know? And then, what did we talk about after that? My boy Silas won the regional science fair. I know there was another subject mixed in there, though, that I'm just brain farting on now. Oh, my app, my home inspection app, is still not quite done because I had to add some features, and when I say I had to, I do mean I had to, for it to actually work in a way that's going to make sense in the long term, so that when I do fully publish it, I'm not changing the code on the fly after it's published. I had to do some extra stuff to it, and some of the extra stuff I had to do broke it, which is normal. but some of that extra stuff did break it. And after it broke, I had to fix it. And then Replit wasn't working right. It was stuck in these like planning loops and restart loops and server errors. So I got to go get that done today. But that app, I think will actually be done today. And if it's not, it's only going to be because I found some way to improve it that I really just feel is important to improve. But I'll get that out to my property manager because I have an actual inspection. I built the app. It's been in my head for a long time and I haven't needed it because nobody wanted to pay me for inspections. But now that this property manager finally pulled the trigger and said, hey, let's do a test run of this idea you had of us paying you to do the inspections, I had to go ahead and build the app. Otherwise, I'd be doing it all by hand, and I just don't want to do that. Not when I can have an app that does it for me. And I think it saves. I've tried to work the math out, and of course, every move out, every vacant property is different. Every inspection is going to be different, and every estimate is going to be put together differently. But I feel very confident that in the worst case scenario, that there is no scenario where this app doesn't save you an hour and a half per inspection, including the part where you're putting the inspection together. For the end product that you get out of it, it saves you at least an hour and a half towards the process of achieving that end product. Probably closer to 2 or even 2.5 hours per inspection, but minimum saves you an hour and a half. And I think I'll have that wrapped up today. And then I'll get to submit it to Jobber for review. And if it's approved, it'll become an official Jobber integration. So any of y'all who follow me who are on Jobber, who are using that to run your business, y'all are going to be able to use my app to do your inspections. And all you're going to have to do is point your phone at the thing that's broke, hit the button, say what's broke and what you want to do about it, hit the button again to stop the recording, and you do that throughout the inspection. When you're done and there's nothing left to inspect, you hit the button that says done, and you get home. Well, you don't have to wait till you get home, it'll be there right away, but you drive home and get on your PC and open up that job or that quote, and everything that you just found is already pre-populated there with like high value professional wording, a little description of why it matters that particular thing is broke, what you want to do about it. It'll all be populated in that quote. Mike said, congratulations on winning the science fair, my dude. Forget your name. Sorry, my name's Ray Duke. Mike said, hope it goes well on all that for you, my man. Thank you. What do we think about me just showing the road? I haven't done this before. It's almost easier. I don't have to worry about... Well, I know I look like shit, generally speaking. I don't guess I worry about it too much because I've been doing this a while, but still, it's almost kind of easier to just point the damn phone down the road instead of at me. Even like right now, I'm making funny faces at y'all, and you have no idea unless I tell you. I tell you what, if I was on a ranch though, if we were on the ranch and we had the livestock going and we had the farming going and we had everything going, the solar and the well, the solar running the wells and everything else, boy, if the internet just disappeared all of a sudden, if all the Starlink satellites just blinked off, and all the internet and all the phone service and all the electricity just kind of fell out from under us so that none of it existed anymore, it sure wouldn't bother me a lot to know that my kids are going to grow up without all of that junk. They're never going to have a Facebook account to get addicted to. They're never going to have the opportunity to get addicted to scrolling on their phone, never have the opportunity to get addicted to video games. And our whole house is already a damn library. So not only is our house already a library, we have, I don't know if this makes us hoarders or not, but we have boxes and boxes and boxes of books. And I don't mean, we didn't like go to some place where you can buy books for 5 cents each because they're going to the dump the next day otherwise. We've selected all of these books in person at thrift stores and Goodwill and all over the place. Hand selected books that we liked. And our house is already a library, plus we've got all those boxes. When we get a bigger, better, nicer house, and I'm not busy trying to make the money to buy the ranch, and I'm now enjoying the money that I made on my ranch, our whole damn house is going to be a library anyways. So who needs the internet when your house is a library? Travis said it's going to happen eventually. We become too reliant on internet. I agree. That's another thing with my ranch, and I know there's nothing unique about what I'm saying. I'm not the first guy to want to go off grid. But the part about it I like is, you know, I have to decide, even when I have the ranch, there has to be a business model. You know, the land needs to pay for itself. It's not like you can just own it for free. You still have property taxes and still just going to be expenses that go along with owning it. And you still want a life, you know. So what I'm going to do with the land to make the money, to me, it absolutely makes sense. And think of it this way. Let's assume, of course, that I've made enough money to buy it in such a way that when I'm on it, I don't need tons of money rolling in. I need some, but I don't need tons. I think what I'd like to do is figure out how to make the land produce as much for me and my family as possible. When I say as much, I don't mean just quantity-wise, but I mean like the depth and breadth of the types of things. Like if I can grow cotton and, you know, buy some sort of like maybe halfway modern day cotton gin, you know, that you can manually crank or whatever. Oh, it's funny. Emily texted me and told me the dog won't stop barking. I mean, it's just an example, you know, growing cotton for making cloth, digging deeper than just having some farm animals and some crops, but trying to get the land to produce as much of a variety of things as possible. And of course, in a novel, sort of hippie, organic kind of way. And I don't mean hippie in the bad way. I don't think that's a bad term, at least not for me anymore. Maybe it was once when I was younger, man. But, and then set it up so that, you know, let's say my family needs X amount of a particular thing per year. Pickles, you know, we're going to grow cucumbers and we're going to pickle them. So we need X amount of that thing per year. Well, then let's make 5 times as much of that. Let's make what we need and then 5x that. And then if we have a bad year and we get half the production we intended, well, that means we still have enough for us and we still have extra to sell. And then, interesting thing a lot of people don't know about Arizona, if you're on agricultural homestead land, like farmstead, homestead, I forget the names of the zoning. There's a few zoning types that fit it, but it's essentially agricultural or rural homestead. You can have a farm store on your property, and this is going to blow your mind, but if it's on your property, and if you're only selling things that came from your property, you can sell anything. You can sell meat, like we can raise chickens, and as long as they're coming to the farm to buy the chicken from us on the farm's property, we can do that without the USDA involvement and all that other stuff. So let's say we grow or raise or in whatever way, shape, or form produce 5 times as much as we need. Well, if we do that, then we can sell the rest. And then, like I said, for any particular item, even if we have a bad year, well, we should still have enough for us for that year. But here's the beauty of it. Someday, And, you know, we want things rotating. So let's say we have an orchard. It's got pears, it's got peaches, it's got apples, it's got everything. They're all ripening at different types of the year. And we have multiple varieties of each type. So 8 types of apples, 8 types of pears that are all ripening at different times. And the crops we're growing and the animals that we're growing out, all of them are on some sort of staggered schedule to sort of come ready at staggered times. Well, if and when everything collapses, let's say the internet does just go dark and there's no more food on the shelves in the grocery stores and everything is in panic and collapse, our farm will already be set up so that there's already a year's worth of harvesting kind of scheduled out on the calendar, already in place and underway the moment that happens. And so it's not like grow 100 acres of bell peppers. Well, that's cool when you have a society to sell bell peppers into, but it's not so cool if you're growing all those bell peppers and that's the only thing your farm does and everything goes dark, because now you can't just live off bell peppers. Plus they're not going to ripen for another 4 months. And when they do ripen, you're going to have bell peppers for a month and then they're all going to be rotten because there's no refrigeration. So build the farm so that it produces on a staggered schedule year round. Some 3x, 5x, 10x, whatever the number is, more than the family needs. Build the business around not generating tons of revenue, but just producing high quality products, whether it be food or, like it could be wool, it could be cotton, it could be minerals, it could be any number of things, but so that it's producing those things at some staggered pace throughout the year, so that if and when anything goes dark, the farm's literally already, we don't have to go plant a bunch of stuff. It's already planted, the animals are already bred, and the schedules are already on schedule. And I think that for me would, what would it take for me to stop working every day and just relax a little bit? That kind of security would definitely do that for me. And yeah, I'd have to work all day, every day, I guess, to make that happen. But unlike what I'm doing now, that's something my kids can do with me. My kids can't, it's not that they can't be in a video, I'll put them in a video, but my kids can't outline and script and plan a video and set up all the equipment and get the video filmed and edit the video and post the video. And they can't sit down on Replit with me, and build the software tools for you guys to use. They can't. Building this ecosystem just isn't something my kids can do with me. Just like they couldn't go to Bombardier and fix planes with me, but they can raise plants and animals with me. So that's the goal. Mike Murphy said, kind of wish it could go back to the 1990s where technology was there, but not hot tech. Yeah, the 90s was cool. It was there, it was exciting, it was new. You could get big eyes, go, oh crap, look what we can do. But it didn't generally in the 90s. It didn't, very rarely did it take up your whole damn life though. Travis said, you better get that ranch soon. I'm running out of years to come help out. It's, by the way, Travis, I don't know if I told you, but we do have a date to seriously actually start walking and looking at land, not in a dreamy way, but in a, is this the one, ready to actually take out a loan and buy it. And that date is January 1st of next year. So we have less than 1 year's countdown. What I got to do now is I need to file last year's taxes, which, are not due till April 15th, but got to file last year's taxes. And unfortunately, instead of taking tons of deductions and reducing my tax liability, I actually need to file last year's taxes, and I need to make it say that I owe as much as possible by default, because I need to make it say that I made as much as possible. I need to get my income looking really high for last year. So fewer deductions, more taxes. And then this year, that's the whole plan, man. This is it. This should be the last year where my number one goal, outside of being a good husband and father and a good man, where my number one goal in terms of what I'm doing with my time is making revenue, just generating revenue. I need to have my nose to the grindstone. I need to be heads down, coding, building software, building things, building this community, building everything I'm building, as well as running my business, my actual handyman business. This is the last year where I need to spend the year really with my nose to the grindstone, jacking that revenue up as high as I can get it. But once this year's done, whatever last year and this year look like, any bank that's going to give me a loan being self-employed, they want to see 2 years of that self-employment, like 2 consistent years of high revenue, to give me a high loan. So if I want that great piece of property, this is the last year to jack the revenue up. And then, January 1st next year, I'm going to be able to sit back and go, okay, what does my income look like for 2025 and 2026? And I can crunch the numbers, and I can come pretty close to figuring out what a bank is going to be willing to give me. And once I know what that number is, me and Emily can actually start walking property. And, we might walk property before then, more for fun or to keep things in mind or to learn. But January of 2027, less than a year from today, will be the day that we're actually starting to seriously just try to pick which property we move to. And of course, Emily loves our house, and I love our house too. So she doesn't want to leave our house for anything less than a truly great, it needs to be the type of property that makes her go, my God, I love our house, but I could see our future here. But that's when we'll be looking for realsies. Edward says it's the same way for most products here in Tennessee. Edward said, I was driving through the backwoods of northern Tennessee going from one job to the next, and there was a farm with its own small oil well in the front field. In Texas, that's everywhere. Where I'm from, San Angelo, Texas, and just the Permian Basin, there was a school called Wall. It was the Wall, like Wall, Wall School District. And the Wall School District had a lot of money, partly because all the rich people moved out to that area of town, and it was, that was the more expensive land. And in Texas, at least at that time, school funding was based on property tax revenue. So if enough rich people get together, you end up with really great schools just for the rich neighborhoods. But Wall ISD had oil wells on the school property, like to the left of the school, to the right of the school. There was one like right on the edge of the football field. The school smelled like oil. But if you're from Texas, smelling like oil, to say something smells like oil is to say it smells like money. It's like when I drive past any kind of like dairy farm operation and I can smell the manure. To me, that's an amazing smell. I love the smell of cow shit. But yeah, I forgot where I got all of that from anyways. Oh, had a small oil well in the front. Yep, that's cool. Yeah, and if we could find property over here, I don't guess there's really oil over here. I've never seen an oil rig anywhere in southern Arizona, but that'd be cool if we could harvest that kind of energy from our property. I just plan on doing solar. I mean, assuming you can still buy the panels for a reasonable price, which so far you still can, but for me, solar's really where it's at. If I can just get again, you can run say an average house, and by average, I mean, like, let's say you have 4 or 5 kids and TVs and video games and lights and ceiling fans and all kinds of stuff going on. Average house, 8K, an 8 kilowatt system, more than enough for an average house. 4 or 5K if you're a very energy efficient house. So why not just get, 25 to 35K on a ranch, have enough to run a shop and the house and to have some left over and run the wells. And then even if I lose some panels over a decade, it's still producing more than enough. And even as the panels and the batteries degrade over a couple decades, it'll still be enough. You can make a pretty robust solar panel system. Because what's the alternative? You can't run a diesel generator for 20 years if they're not making diesel anymore. You're not gonna run it on alcohol. I'd love if they made more things that ran on alcohol. Because there are that you can buy ethanol generators and ethanol run all kinds of stuff. But there's something weird about ethanol that it really dries out seals and it really burns really hot. And there isn't like a good industry built up around producing things that run off of pure ethanol that last. You know, they're all they require a lot of really heavy maintenance and they have short lifespans. A Gazelle, Tony, right? Tony or Adam? Tony, I'm pretty sure. Good morning, Ray. Look into owner financing. It's a powerful purchasing tool and could have great tax benefits for the seller as well. Win-win. I agree, Tony. I'm assuming it is Tony. I think it was. But yeah, I've looked into that a lot because a lot of farmers, and I don't blame them, a lot of farmers would rather owner finance their land. Now, I have found it's really short terms. So you got to have a lot of money coming in annually, you know, to pay these terms. But a lot of them would rather owner finance, even if it means they lose some money, even if it means they're selling their property for less. They'd rather owner finance to someone like me, like somebody with a good, strong work ethic, who cares about family and who cares about taking care of the land and who can love the land the way that they love the land. A lot of those guys would rather owner finance to someone like me than to just sell it to some damn development corporation who's going to go mow it all down and pave it and throw up another 1,000 houses, you know, cheap, shitty houses too, that are just going to be rentals in 7 years, that are going to start falling apart the instant they become a rental. They would rather their land go to somebody who's going to try to raise a family on it. So that's it's a heavy option I'm looking into. And in fact, I don't tell, well, it's not about how many people I do or don't tell. This isn't something I've talked about much because it's been more of a recent sort of gut feeling, but AI is moving so fast. And I know it is because I'm using it and I'm staying up to date on everything that they're doing with it every day. Its pace of improvement is moving so fast that I'm not sure I have a year left. And I'm okay with being wrong about that because I did say, you know, it was about 2 years ago that I said I think I have about 3 years left. And it was a year ago that I said I think I have about 2 years left. And now we're a year out and I think I have a year. But I'll be damned if things aren't just moving so fast that I'm not as certain about having a year left as I once was. I'm just really not. I'm not certain that I have that much time. And one of the things I have been looking at just in the last maybe 3 months that I've truly been heavily considering is, you know, I want like 500 acres. Don't get me wrong, that's the goal. Or 180 acres, you know, with a nice house on it too. But despite what I want, if I accidentally can stumble upon like 40 acres just down the road from here, 40 acres close by enough that I can go out there every day and be working on it part-time and getting it ready and just have that as a backup before we really try to get a large piece of land, I'm really heavily considering that. And if I can own or finance that 40 acres, that would be even better because I don't want those hits on my credit report when I'm applying for loans to actually buy the large piece of property. So I've actually been heavily considering a smaller piece of property closer by, sooner, probably owner financed. And there do seem to be a handful of those out my way. I looked them up about a week ago. I was out picking flowers for Emily and I had my AI in my breast pocket. You know, I had Chat GPT, or actually that day it was Grok I was talking to, but I had my phone in my breast pocket out there picking flowers on the side of the highway and all the disturbed soil where all those flowers like to grow. Just looking at owner financing land out here down my way, and there is a bit of it, you know. It's not great land, but I mean, that's kind of the point, as I'm saying I might take something smaller sooner just in case. And that doesn't stop me from taking something larger later, you know, if I succeed with my goals this year. So this is it, man. This is my year. This is my revenue year. I should hopefully, for the rest of my life, it would be nice if I never, ever, ever made more money than what I make this year. This should be the last year that just the black and white numbers on the piece of paper carry as much value as they happen to. Money's a tool, though, you know. People say you shouldn't worship money, and I absolutely agree. I'm not trying to worship. I don't worship anything, you know, other than my family and maybe just the general idea that life is short and we all need to like make the best that we can out of it and appreciate it and be good to each other. I worship that idea, but I don't worship money. But if you're going to worship family, and if you're going to worship the ideas that I worship, money is one of the tools that you need to make that all happen. You can't just, you know, yeah, you could just not work, I guess, and let the government give you the money that you need for the food stamps and the rent and everything, but then you haven't provided anything to anybody, you know, and you haven't taught your kids anything about how the real world works. So money is a necessary evil. It's what gets me to the ranch, but I'm hoping this is the last year where money, or that black and white number on a piece of paper, is as important as it happens to be right now. So thank you for that, Tony. I agree with you, and I'm heavily looking into that option. Tim said, Wooster, Ohio, married 10 years with 3 daughters. You probably heard, but we're going for a daughter this year. I'm hoping my daughter will be born on our ranch, or at the very least born in a hospital, but at the same period of time that we have our ranch. And honestly, if Emily wanted to do a midwife kind of thing, as long as we had plans, like backup plans for the hospital in case the hospital became necessary, if Emily was down with, you know, having a midwife situation and setting everything up to have the baby at our house on our ranch, I'd be absolutely down with that. But we're shooting for a girl. Her name's going to be Lucy Pearl. I'm scared to death because I know how to raise boys. I can just be mean to my boys, you know. It's easy to put your foot down with boys because you're looking at them and you're wanting to raise them good, like good boys, and you know what it took for you, so you just give them what it took for you. But it's going to be hard with a daughter. It's going to be really hard. I'm sure I'm going to have to rethink how I think about men and women and our relationship to each other, and I'll have to rethink, you know, I'll have to imagine what kind of man I want my daughter. I told my barber the other day, I got a haircut, and me and the barber were just joking around, and I said, yeah, I want a little girl, but I'm scared to have a little girl because I feel like if I have a little girl, I'm going to have to become the kind of man that I hope she marries someday, because I have to set that example. But I don't know if I want to become the kind of man that I hope she marries someday. Not my daughter. I do want to be the kind of man that I hope most daughters marry someday, but I don't know if I want to be the kind of man that I want my daughter to marry someday. She thought that was funny, but it's crazy. 3 girls, man, married 10 years. That's the life. Tony said, use your current house for a rental to pay your note and mortgage payments. Ask AI to help construct a deal and the negotiating points. Yes, it's Tony. I'm looking at Tucson too. Sellers are not generally educated on seller finance. You can open up a lot of options to a seller, and the terms are all negotiated, no bank restrictions. You can stretch the loan out many years. I won't be doing the thing where I make my house a rental to pay the note on the temporary owner finance property. If we do that, it'll be blank land and we'll keep living in the house. But yes, actually, when we buy our big piece of property, chances are, well, one of 2 things will happen. You know, maybe we'll love the new property so much that we're willing to sell this house outright just to be able to get that property. But more than likely, what we're going to do is we're going to turn our current house into a rental and rent it out while we live on the other property. And of course, use that revenue, you know, to help pay for that property, like you were saying. But the idea being that if for any reason we ever want this house back, you know, just for any reason, you never know what the future brings. So if we ever change our mind and we miss our old house, the one that we raised our kids in already, then we still own that house and we can always come back to it if it's a rental. Almost home. And then once I get there, it's just all about generating revenue again. What is that in the tree? It's a bird. The weird angle this bird was at, it looked like a rabbit up in a tree. Man, it's good to get these morning walks in, because the truth is, it's 7:30 right now, and the truth is, if I didn't wake up early and go on this walk, I'd just still be in bed anyways. So I'm not even starting my productive portion of my day later necessarily. Kind of starting it at about the same time I would anyways, just after a nice good walk. It gets my blood flowing. Oh yeah, that's right. Got to call the garbage company about my trash cans. I don't know if I didn't pay my bill or what, but they're gone. So I assume I didn't pay the bill, which is not even about the money. I just probably forgot. Uncle Travis, you have a good day too, sir. Tim said we had our last one at our house and wouldn't go back to the hospital. That's amazing. I like that. All right, well, there's that beautiful American flag. I love you guys. I hope you're out there killing it, and I'll see y'all on the next one.